Yeah.
Pass some of those around. Those are just copies of the presentation.
Okay, so tonight we wanted to go over the budget presentation for the 16-17 school year. It's a little bit later than what we normally do, usually doing this in April, but because of the state budget timelines for 15-16 and still unknowns for 16-17, we pushed it into May this year, just because it was within the last 2 weeks that we got the final numbers for the 15-16 school year. So it was a little difficult to put a revenue side together until now. So I'll go through here. We're going to go through all our sources of revenue, our expenditures from the major areas of the budget, and then a summary of what this all means. Just a reminder, it's a working document. I mean, we were still updating numbers this afternoon as we got them either from the state or things that we became known. So it's a working document, and we'll keep going on this as we move through. I wanted to start off the night with giving you an update on the 15-16 budget. Like I said, 2 weeks ago was when we got the final numbers on our basic ed subsidy, a Ready to Learn money, and PlanCon money, and some Social Security and Medicare items. So for 15-16, the current year we're in, we did end up receiving an additional $166,801 in basic ed subsidy. We also received an additional $46,000 in Ready to Learn money. The basic ed subsidy is general to be used throughout the district. The Ready to Learn money is specific, and for us, what we use that for is to cover the cost of our full-day kindergarten program. So the $46,000 will just go, the money that we were getting, and we get about $200, with this additional money, we had $237,000 in that fund, and that doesn't cover our full expense for half of our kindergarten program. So what we do is we put that money towards the expense that we have. Because when that grant came into place many years ago, it was originally called the Accountability Block Grant, and it was probably one of the only state grants that went into place over the last few years that you were able to supplant. So if you already had a full-day kindergarten program in place, you can use this grant money to enhance or support your current program. You do not have to have a new program going in place. So we continue to use that to help fund our existing full-day kindergarten program.
You said it was a little bit less than half of it, correct?
Right. Yeah, we spend more, and we've had the full-day kindergarten program existing since the 90s, and the expense of that is more than what the grant covers, but we're allowed to use the grant money towards our expenses.
The only reason I ask is if funding were to go up, and as we all hope that the state would help us more with state reimbursement or their share, is that how much more would it actually cover if we were to say use it again next year for the full-day kindergarten? That's why my question was, how much does it go towards now? And then maybe as a benchmark, we could see what it looks like if funding were to go up, that grant in particular.
Right, and I'm not sure if I quite understand the question, but if we had more money that covered more than the half of our state funding, is that what you're asking?
No, like the $46,000 that we're putting towards the full-day kindergarten, how much does that pay percentage-wise into the total cost of the full-day kindergarten?
That, I don't have that figure.
We'll
I
have
didn't
it
figure that
for-
out, but I have it.
Because just in case that grant money goes up, then we can see how much percentage-wise this money pays toward that full-day kindergarten going
Okay,
forward.
I understand what you're asking. I don't have that number for you tonight, but that's something I can put together.
Great, thank you.
The next item is the PlanCon. I know we've talked about this for many years. We've talked about a few years back, we were in that hole of, not getting our funding for our Evergreen program. We did in the 14-15 school year end up getting all of the back pay we had for PlanCon, and we're in line to continue to get our money. But across the board, what the state did this year is they passed new legislation, and they just did it within the last few weeks, to cover all of they're gonna float a bond issue that's going to cover the expenses for all of the districts who have Plan Con money coming to them for the life of their bonds. So they figured out how much they owe all of the districts based on the outstanding issues that we all have right now. And they're going to borrow the money to pay for all of those issues. So it is coming. It's probably not going to be until July or August, and that's why I listed it as delayed funding. We will be able to recognize it as a receivable. It is coming. We will not have it by June 30th. That is what we're being told. But it has been passed in legislation. We will receive the money that we're owed for the 15-16 school year. It's just going to be delayed.
And
So-
that'll be ongoing then,
Yes.
once they do this?
Yes. Yeah.
Will that
And
be
we're
the
not
end,
sure how
will that
that's
be
gonna
the end
get-
of Plan Con as we know it then, after all these are,
I'm not
we're
I'm
not
not really
sure on
sure.
that yet?
I'm not
Okay.
really sure. I know
Yeah.
they put a moratorium, any programs or any new construction projects that are not submitted, at least Plan Con Part A, it was actually Friday of last week, May 13th.
Right,
There's a hold on them.
There's a hold on
So there's no
anything
new
new.
projects they're going to
and that's
accept.
the way they should do it,
Mhm.
actually.
And whether
Yeah, I
they
mean-
change that futuristically, if a few years down the road they
Right.
open that back up, I'm not sure.
Well, that's
But for
good
right
news,
now,
that's good news.
it's for everybody that's already in and anybody that had a project submitted by Friday of last week for a new construction.
So the governor did sign this, or he's
Yes.
pledged to, he has?
No, well, he
Or he
didn't
has pledged
technically
to
sign
sign
it.
it.
This was the one he let
refused to sign it, but let
go
it
into
expire,
law.
so it de facto passed.
That's, you're talking about the budget.
And the
And the
fiscal
fiscal
bill,
code.
Oh,
both.
the
That
fiscal.
part
They
was in
did
the
both the
fiscal
same
code.
way.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the bond issue.
That was in the fiscal bill.
That was in the fiscal.
In the fiscal bill, and it's
He
just
just
gonna
let it-
take a while. He let the time frame to veto it expire, and therefore it's
It
passed.
comes law, yeah,
Correct.
okay.
After 10 days of the legislative passing it,
Yeah,
he didn't sign it, but he didn't veto it within the 10 days, so it became law. So technically, it's not legislation that he signed, but it is law,
okay.
because
so-
his time frame for veto
The only
expired.
time you ever hear anything is when he uses the word veto. So it's like,
Yeah, so
Right.
that is
Good.
passed, that is gonna happen. It's just their timing of when they can get that done is gonna take a few weeks for that.
And that's super important. That's the rest of we have 6 more years of
Right.
kind reimbursement, and we're gonna get it now.
We got millions of dollars
We
coming
have
in.
roughly
Yeah.
$3 million coming
Yeah.
our way.
We have that, and we don't know exactly how they're doing that. If they're gonna continue to give us the money each year as we make the bond payments. There's also been talk that they're going to give us the entire
Entire
amount to cover the future payments that we'll make on our bond issue. So we'll have some decisions to make futuristically, when they tell us how that's gonna happen. So for right now, we're planning on just getting the dollar amount we're expected each year. For the 15-16, it's 520,000, that's what we're expected to get back. It's a little higher than that in the 16-17 year, the reimbursement on that. And it's based on, it's the percentage of what we pay
And
out.
that 520 covers our cost for our mortgage for the year, or? is
That covers the state's portion.
The state's
of
portion,
the-
okay,
the
and then we match that.
And
with
then
the
ours
other
is the difference. That's when we got Plan Con Part H approved from the state, they
Right.
gave us a reimbursement percentage, about
Okay.
28%.
28.
So, that's what this is. This is them reimbursing us that percentage.
That's
of our
28,
project.
28 cents on the dollar that we spend,
Roughly.
is that what
Mhm.
that indicates, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know they were talking 35 or so when we did the project, but it's always,
Right, yeah, there's always estimates until you
Yeah.
actually go through the whole program and then get all
okay,
the approvals through the state, so.
this is good news.
Yeah, and then the next item is reduced funding for Social Security and Medicare reimbursement. As we pay our salaries, we pay 7.65% in Social Security and Medicare taxes on all of the salaries that go out. The state reimburses us 50% of that cost throughout the year. And what they do is they pay us monthly based on our salary the previous month. We do reporting to them, and they give us back our 50% of it. What they did, and part of the legislation they passed, is that they're going to delay paying us our May and June payment. Usually we get it within the month. They're gonna push that off 2 months from the 15-16, so we're gonna be short the $100,000, but we will get that in July and August of 16-17. The bad news is that they're gonna only next year in 16-17, only pay us 12 months worth. So they're always going to be 2 months behind on this now. So they, kind of gave themselves a little bit of cash flow and shorted us a little bit, but we are getting the money. It's not that we're not getting it, it's just that we'll be 2 months behind, and that'll factor into our budgets, just going forward. We'll factor all that in.
We were talking about transportation before. Have we received our reimbursement on transportation in a timely manner? I know, I
Yes.
thought you mentioned it.
Yeah, transportation, once
Okay.
they passed the budget back in January, we
Right.
did start getting our
Okay,
transportation
'cause-
money, and they continued to give
Because
us
that's a
that
big piece
money.
of change too,
Right.
that we'd be working
Right.
on. Okay.
That's state, once they passed that in the first budget, the regular budget that was passed in January, they started
Okay.
giving us
In
transportation
January, they
and all the
passed
other
it.
funding, and then we
Okay.
continued to receive that.
Okay.
Yeah. So a couple things that we did want to talk about with this money, and we talked a little bit about it when we talked about the co-curriculars and wanting to spend some of this money, how we go about spending this money this year, because it is additional funding coming in. The Ready to Learn money, we already know, that is earmarked for a full-day kindergarten program, but from that basic ed subsidy, there are a few things that we have been discussing and things we were looking at adding into the 16-17 budget, but we think we could try to do some of it now. The first item is the purchase of a new math series. Matt and his group has been working all year on looking into a new math series. And roughly that'll be about $45,000 for the initial cost. Each year we'll have consumable expenses to replace the consumables with the math, with workbooks and different things. But we wanted to look at purchasing that math series to begin in the 15-16 year. That way they can do professional development and get everything ready and be ready to roll when we start the 16-17 school year. So that's one item. The other items.
And that hasn't been done in 12 years.
Right, it's been several years since we replaced our math. And that's pre-K through 8th grade, correct? The other thing that was proposed for next year, and we think it's something we could try to get in for this year, is band uniforms. It was, I think when we looked back, it was 1998, so over 18 years ago, that we purchased band uniforms, marching band uniforms. And they've proposed to us for this year, actually for 16-17, they have proposed replacing those uniforms. And it's about a $40,000 expense. We did get some estimates on replacing those uniforms, but we'd like to move forward with that now and finish and have that expense as part of the 15-16 school year and get them the uniforms that they need. It's been quite a while since we've done that.
And lead time because of.
And lead time, well, they have to order, and it has to have the logos on it, and, all the colors and stuff, so, Elaine Ort has gotten some estimates on that, and we're kinda on hold. We wanted to talk to you about it tonight, to see if we can move forward with purchasing those uniforms. And it would be through CoStars, which is, it would not have to be bid, the uniforms wouldn't have to be bid out. There are companies, and I can't think of the name of the company right now, that she had wanted to go through for the uniforms, and they are part of the state program for not, that we didn't have to bid it out, it's already been bid through the state, so.
These two expenditures, you wanna utilize the Plan Con money?
No.
You wanna use the
under
basic ed money?
Mhm. Yeah, and the other.
I mean, you wanna use the basic ed money initially until we get, you basically replenish the kidney when it comes to it, correct?
The basic ed money is money that we're getting right now in the
Yeah.
15-16 school year. I've already started to get some of that additional. This was money above what I had budgeted for the 15-16 school year. So we do want to use that for this year, to use that. And then these items wouldn't need to be purchased in next year's budget. The third item is co-curricular, what Joe had brought up earlier about helping the competitive teams with some of the transportation expenses and some of the national competition expenses. Use some of that money to help them to fund their trips that are coming up in the next few weeks. So that's the other piece that we wanted to use the money for.
And how much were we planning there?
I had about $12,000 listed there. I'm not sure if that was a complete, that's what I had in my notes.
Great.
Okay.
Is that sufficient for their needs? Or can we give them more?
Gets us to within about $250 per kid, as opposed to the original or $270 a kid that they have to raise on their own. So if we want to pay for it all, that would be an additional 16 times 3, about an additional almost $5,000. So if we want to pay for all of it, then 17,000, and we want to have the kids cover their 270 plus or minus. The expectation was originally this was going to be somewhere between $1,100 and $1,300 per kid to have to raise. Then we got better pricing, and then we allocated what we thought was a reasonable amount at $500. But if we want to pay for it all, that's up to you. It would cost us about $5,000 more to do that for those 16 kids who are going to FBLA and TSA.
The cost of the chaperones is also involved in that, is it not?
Chaperone costs, I'm not 100% sure.
Because I thought I had gotten paperwork from Mr. Roop, and it was $1,000 a student, but I was assuming that, because he told me originally it was 800 and change, and then when I got that paperwork from him, it was 1,000.
Right.
But that, I was wondering if that difference was going to be to cover the cost of the chaperones.
No, I think what happened was we couldn't get flights, and then the IU that we partnered with to get way better pricing on flights and banks of rooms, they blocked a whole bunch out. So we were able to get in on their joint purchase. And so that reduced it down to, I think it was $790 per kid.
I'll have to go back and look at my paperwork, but
Yeah. The
regardless,
paperwork came out.
who's covering the chaperones? I mean, we're gonna have to,
Right. The chaperones, I know that the people who are our co-curricular advisors are gonna get covered as part of.
well,
their
neither of
advisors.
the advisors are going for
Right.
TSA. which
Right.
is-
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure of the we'll have that for you also, we'll have that for you on Monday. I don't know what the deal was there, if this would include covering all the chaperones,
I think in the
or
last
if it
year,
doesn't.
chaperones were covered
Mhm.
by the district, I believe. I don't know if they're doing that this time.
Yeah, but we'll have that Monday,
All right.
we'll have that Monday.
All right, so we'll get into the 16-17 school year now. First thing I wanted to do is just do a breakdown to show you how our revenues that come into the district. 62% of our revenues are from local sources, and the local sources include our real estate taxes, our real estate transfer taxes, some small in lieu of taxes that we get from PPNL lines and different things throughout the district, and also pass-through money from the intermediate unit that is actual federal money, but it comes through as local because we get it from the intermediate unit, and that is towards special ed needs. That's the IDEA funding that we get that helps us fund our special ed classrooms. So that all comes there, and that's under the local. The state share is about 36%, and that is our basic ed subsidy, our special ed subsidy, early intervention funding that we get to run the Wayne County Early Intervention Program, and also the state's share of their retirement system and the Social Security and Medicare and our transportation. All of those items are in our state funding level. And I have a breakdown a few slides later that gives more detail from each of those funding levels. And then our federal money is 1.5% of our budget, and that includes our federal programs, which are Title I and Title II programs, and also the medical access money, the reimbursement we get for the medical access programs that we run. Local money, $26,266,000, which makes up that 62%. The state is $15,398,000, which is the 36%, and then the federal comes in at $636,000. This is a breakdown of county assessments. All the properties in Western Wayne School District at full market value are worth at $1,783,000,000. And that's as of 2014. That's the most current number that we can get out of the state as far as what our full market value is for the properties here. And assessed value, which is from the county, and we get that as a certified number every January from them, and that is at $1,598,674,000. So that's assessed value. That's 2 years more current than the full market value that's listed there. And the value of a collective